So just yesterday, Nintendo made a very big announcement involving China. Specifically, this will greatly impact Nintendo Switch gamers that are in China, although the reason for this change right now is pretty much unknown, but it's definitely not good for people in China, and the implications of kind of what this means, why they made this change, and if it has any sort of long-standing impact, if this will kind of just be the norm going forward, well, that is definitely something of pretty good concern right now for anybody in China that is actively playing Nintendo games. So just yesterday, November 26th, Nintendo made an announcement, and this was on what looks like their Chinese version of like the NintendoSwitch.com website, and basically they stated that they are going to end the Nintendo Switch eShop in China by May 15th, 2026. So that is about a year and a half from now. So on March 31st, 2026, they will stop selling games on the Nintendo Switch eShop in China, and this also includes like game trial downloads. And then about a month and a half later, on May 15th, 2026, you will no longer be able to use the eShop at all. So this means you can't even like redeem download codes for games. But they said to make up for this, if you are a Nintendo Switch console owner in China, and specifically if you have a WeChat account, then they are actually going to give you 4 free downloads for some pretty big Nintendo Switch games, and you can just basically choose 4 games within this selection of games. And WeChat, if you didn't know, is basically like a big texting application in China. It's kind of like a WhatsApp. I believe it is actually the biggest app in the world just by the numbers. So I mean, pretty much anybody that has a Nintendo Switch console probably has a WeChat account. So this is, like I said, a pretty big announcement for anybody that's in China. So the obvious big question here is why? Why are they doing this just in China especially? I mean, we know that the Nintendo Switch is definitely nearing the end of its life cycle. They're gonna announce another console probably early next year, so probably in 2 or 3 months. And it sounds like they'll probably release that console sometime in 2025. So it's definitely not crazy to think that, you know, a few years from now, the eShop of the Nintendo Switch will shut down probably globally, but probably not as early as 2026. And of course, there's the obvious here, you know, why is it just specifically China? And that is definitely unknown right now. We can only speculate because Nintendo did not actually include this in this announcement. There's a few theories. So the website Eurogamer, they made some good points by pointing out that China has actually kind of recently made some pretty tight restrictions on like online purchases of video games, and this includes like microtransactions, stuff like that. And I mean, Nintendo really doesn't probably do much with microtransactions, I don't think, but these restrictions also affected other things as well, just with online games. So this also mixed with the fact that China has been battling something that they are kind of referring to as gaming addiction among their youth. That has only led to likely further restrictions. So kind of the theory, at least for Eurogamer, or at least just something they're putting out there, is that maybe it was just growing very tough to have a marketplace for an online game system in China, so maybe that's why they are ending it. But somebody also said on Reddit a different theory. Now this was an apparent statement from a website that I don't actually believe is like officially tied to Nintendo, but the reason that this website gave was basically that Nintendo has a third-party partner that they use in China to basically create their eShop in China, but allegedly that partner has ended ties with Nintendo just due to different business changes, and I guess Nintendo is unable to transfer the service to a different partner in China. So a couple pretty big theories there. I could see it kind of being one of those, or maybe even just something completely different. We will just have to wait and see, you know, if we actually get clarification on why this change was made. And specifically, whenever the Nintendo Switch 2 comes out, or whatever it will be called, the big question will definitely be, yeah, will they have a China eShop? I definitely hope so, because otherwise I would think if you're a Nintendo gamer in China, your options are going to be pretty limited. You're either going to have to use a VPN or just go without the Nintendo eShop. I would think that Nintendo would want to do anything and everything to not lose out on probably a fair chunk of their gamers, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Time will tell if there will be a China eShop for the next Nintendo console.